Hey there, and welcome back to episode 21 of the ENSPIRES podcast. I am your friend, Jess M. Cutler, and today is going to be it's part one of a two-part series on something that I'm sure everyone, man and woman, entrepreneur and employee, parent and child, whatever, every person has had in their life in some way, and that is stress. There was this study I found. I was trying to read up on stress, and I found one, and it said it came out in 2013, that noted that 60 to 80% of primary care doctors' visits come from stress, and only 3% received stress management help. So, I don't know, that was almost 10 years ago. So can you imagine how that number has changed? I was trying to go through some of the more recent statistics, and just the numbers were staggering. It was a third of the world, and 75% of Americans talk about suffer with overwhelming amounts of stress and worry and anxiety. And the topic came to me being right here at the end of what we consider the heat of our event season, and retesting my hormone levels, which were almost as worse as when they tanked around COVID. But this time it was only after 3 months of event season. So I've been working with a physical trainer, and pretty much any problem that I've been having, she kind of follows it up with, we've really got to get you to lower your stress levels, which I don't know about anyone else, but that is so frustrating to hear. Because how many times do I walk outside in the morning, right when the sun is coming out, so I can reset my circadian rhythm, where I put my bare feet on the cool, wet grass to form some type of magnetic effect some people like to call grounding. I read the books, I take the walks, I take the baths, I write down what I'm grateful for. If it's a stress-reducing activity, I have put them all in my day, or at least in my week. I'm not even trying to narrow it down to which one works the best for me. I'm just throwing them all in a pot, and I am just stirring them around and seeing what cooks up. But this year, I will say, was a little tougher than last year for the business, because we made some pretty big investments just in the team and in the office space. But really, all things considered, I feel like being a business owner and an event planner, on top of that, which, fun fact, for anyone who may be listening to this podcast for the relation it has to the event industry, I think it's fair to warn you that event planning consistently ranks in the top 10 most stressful jobs on earth, behind running into a burning building, which I guess in truth could really be a metaphor for some of the events that we walk into. But it's just, I don't know, it's just frustrating to hear that I need to reduce my stress, reduce your stress, because contrary to what my hormones show, I think that I have been handling my stress way better than I have in previous years. So needless to say, to hear that I still need to lower my stress, it just stresses me out. I'm just kidding. It doesn't stress me out. It just makes me question all of my life choices up to this point. No, I'm just kidding. In all fairness, I spend a lot of time trying to keep my body in a de-stressed state, which on very busy days can sometimes lead to more stress. I don't know. It's just this vicious cycle. And this is really why I want to help others stop the spiral, because it's a place that I regularly call home. When I think about the spiral, I get a mental image of those entrances you have to walk through, on a wacky house at a carnival. You can walk through them, and you could walk with them as long as the pace stays at a slow, decent pace. But if it malfunctions, or maybe you lose your step, it kicks into a higher gear, that's when the spiral kind of becomes this hamster wheel, where you're either running so hard to keep up with it, or you get pinned to the side and just spin until someone or something stops you. And I hate to speak this into existence, but when something stops you, it's usually not fun. It's usually abrupt, it's usually painful, and I call those things life checks. It's usually a heart attack, adrenal fatigue, COVID, a death, something that forces you to stop whether you want to or not. So, while I don't necessarily think that I am an expert on stress management in any way, I really thought about what stops the spiral for me in my professional in my personal life. And I decided that I wanted to share that with you today. Today, I'm going to share a 3-step process to stop the spiral, or at least slow it down. Now, for me, if I am really, really spiraling and I need it to stop, I have to do all 3 of these steps in order, back to back. But I just want to note that each step could stand alone, and they could each be done individually, all by themselves. And if you do it that way, I don't know that it'll stop it, but it will at least slow it down. I guess it was in Jordan Rayner's Redeeming Your Time that he made a comment that stress comes from unkept agreements with yourself, which I thought was extremely interesting. And it has so much truth to it, because how many times does our stress show up in our words like, oh, I have so much to do today? Like those spiraling thoughts of everything you got to get done today piles on top of what you got to get done for the week or for the month. And let's face it, we're coming to the holidays, and the thought of everything that you've got to get done for the holidays is too overwhelming to really even consider at the time that you might actually have time to get it all done. So you silently decide that you'll do what you did for every year previous, and you'll just wait until the week before to handle all of those things, right? You say you're going to do something, and then you forget. So you say yes to 10 more things, and then you feel bad because you forget. So then you try to do something else to make up for the fact that you did forget, and then bam, like you're overwhelmed, you're burned out, and you're stressed. And Lord knows, let's not even talk about the fact that it's your year to host the holidays. I mean, am I getting close? Like y'all see what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about the spiral, this is the space that I'm talking about. Like, does anyone have those thoughts? Are you starting to spiral just thinking about trying to understand spiral? It's exhausting. I get it. I mean, I think about, like, just imagine planning like your most epic Christmas party, or better yet, maybe like planning your wedding like 100 times a year. Like that's what it's like to be an event planner. So let's do it. Here's my 3-step process to stopping the spiral. Step 1, breathe. I've never actually had a doctor-diagnosed anxiety attack, but I have experienced some pretty stressful situations. I don't know. I feel like most of us have experienced that to some degree, even if we haven't had an anxiety attack, except for maybe my husband, who, I don't know. I don't know what it must feel like to be him, because I don't see him get stressed. I have this rule in our business that basically says, like, we're not allowed to worry unless we see Will worry. And I've never seen Will worry. So that's why it's my rule. I don't know. He's just a freak of nature. But I don't know. When I've chatted with some of my friends who have had doctor-diagnosed anxiety attacks, they made the comment that part of it felt like they couldn't breathe, that something was crushing their chest, which makes sense because when you're under stress, you activate that fight, flight, freeze response in our sympathetic nervous system. So this spikes our cortisol and results in faster, shallow breathing, heart rate elevation, irritability, elevated blood pressure, and body tension. So before you're able to really stop the spiral, you have to fight against everything inside of your being. You have to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. And really one of the easiest ways to do it, because I know what you're saying, you're like, Jess, I cannot add one more thing to my day. But one of the easiest ways is just to simply take a few deep cleansing breaths. I like to think of it as when I'm spinning and I feel like I don't have anything under control, there is one thing that I know that I can control, and that is my breath. So I do a practice, what I've heard others call box breathing. So I breathe in through my nose for a count of 4. I hold that for a count of 4, and then I release through my mouth with a count of 4, and then I hold that release for a count of 4. And I do this 3, 5, 10 times until I can physically feel my body relax. And it will. There are times that I try to make myself do this and I'm in such a spiral that my brain will be going wild and I'll forget that I'm in the middle of trying to take a deep breath. So I do something that I learned when I used to practice yin yoga frequently, and it's thinking the words while you're doing it. I am breathing in, I am breathing out. And it's just especially useful because when I forget that I'm trying to breathe, it makes me focus on those words. And so that makes me focus on the breath, and it helps me to step away from from the spiraling thoughts, even if it's just for a brief moment, even if it's just for a second. So right now, we're going to do this together. And if you are currently in a stress state, this is going to be hard for you. And you may even be tempted to fast forward the next 15 seconds because stillness is awkward and it's uncomfortable. And in reality, it might even be hard for me. But let's do it. Let's do it together. Let's just do 3 deep breaths. So let's breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Last time. Man, it is crazy what that feels like in the middle of a stress spiral. I mean, it feels good. Usually, I'll be honest, usually if I'm in the middle of a super duper stress spiral, 3 breaths, it's really not gonna like stop it completely, but it does force me to focus on slowing down, taking control, and just taking a beat. And not that you don't already know the benefits of breathing deeply, but sometimes I know I need to be reminded. So without spending too much time on it, I'm gonna give you a short list of the benefits of breathing deeply. All right, so number 1, just like we've talked about, decreases stress and increases calm. So when you become stressed or anxious, your brain releases cortisol, the stress hormone. So by taking deep breaths, your heart rate slows, more oxygen enters our bloodstream, and ultimately communicates with the brain to relax. Deep breathing also ups your endorphins, which we all know, that's our feel-good chemical. All right, so number 2, it relieves pain. Just like I just stated, so deep breathing triggers the release of endorphins, which not only helps create a feel-good feeling, it also combats pain. Number 3, it stimulates the lymphatic system and it detoxifies the body. Breathing releases carbon monoxide, which is important to fully release. Actually, breathing is in charge of 70% of cleansing the body of toxins, and the other 30% is through bladder and bowel. So if you do not breathe fully, your body must work overtime to release those toxins. Number 4, this is an important one for the season of sickness that we're getting ready to go into. It improves your immunity. So when your blood is fully oxygenated, it carries and absorbs nutrients and vitamins more efficiently. Essentially, the cleaner the blood, the harder it is for illnesses to stay put in your system. 5, it increases your energy. So the more oxygen that's in the blood, the better our body functions, and it also improves our stamina. 6, lowers blood pressure. So as your muscles relax, this allows your blood vessels to dilate, which improves circulation and lowers blood pressure. Deep breathing also slows and regulates the heart rate, which also helps with lowering your blood pressure. Okay, next to last one, improves digestion. The more you breathe deep, the more healthier blood flow you'll produce, which in turn promotes your organs to function more effectively, including your intestines. And then 8, and this one actually was kind of funny to me, it helps support correct posture. So next time you breathe in, notice that you simultaneously lengthen and straighten your spine. So in order to take a deep breath in, your lungs take up maximum space and your diaphragm pulls down. So in turn, your torso straightens in order for this to be possible. Now, just doing that, just want to say, keep in mind, deep breathing is something that's kind of unnatural for our body to do. So just like learning any new skill, it takes practice. So last kind of tip for deep breathing, it needs to be slow and gentle. You need to fill your abdomen, not just the chest. And just a simple way to make sure you're doing that is put a hand on your chest and then put a hand on your stomach. And so, whenever you go to breathe deeply, try to be aware of the breath, the heartbeat, and to release the tension from your body. So, you're going to just try really hard to make sure that this hand on your belly, that's the one that's inflating and deflating. Now, I know what you're saying, Jess, I don't have time to do this. Sure you do. I'll be honest, I have made vendors stop in the middle of a conversation just because they were going a million miles a minute. And I just made them stop, and I just made them take 3 deep breaths with me because I needed us to slow down and solve a problem, and their stress was stressing me out. So you can absolutely do this. And you can make other people do it with you. So just be creative. Just think of ways to kind of sneak them into your schedule. Like right when you wake up, when you go to sleep, maybe you're driving home from work or in the shower, put a reminder on your phone, a Post-it note on your bathroom mirror, wherever, and you're sitting at your desk at work, You can do this, and I promise you, you'll be happy you did. So step 1, breathe. Step 2 in our 3-step process is brain dump. Now, I will tell you, part 2 of the podcast that'll be coming out in a couple weeks, it's actually going to be deep diving into this particular section a little further. I'm going to guide you through, a little more advanced way to brain dump, and really feel good on the other side. But for today's episode, I just wanted to introduce the idea of putting your thoughts, to-dos, and tasks on something physical in front of you. Now, that can be pen and paper, or that can be something digital like your Google Task or just the Notes app on your phone. There's plenty of apps that you can use. Just getting it out of your head and onto paper, whether that's analog or digital. David Allen actually wrote in Getting Things Done, and I love this. You can only feel good about what you're not doing when you know everything you're not doing. So the idea of this brain dump is to take all the things that you're trying to remember and put them in a place that's written down and removed from the memory hard drive in your computer. It's like saving your pictures to an external hard drive so you can free up some space on the main hard drive. The whole purpose of this step is just to free up some space. When you're constantly trying to remember everything, or you're processing some words that someone said that hurt your feelings, and all your energy is going into that spiral space, and you keep saying it over and over so you don't forget it, if you can just write it down, put it on that external hard drive, it takes the pressure off that place in your brain and allows you to start thinking through more creative solutions or just more positive truths. Now, like I said, part 2 in this series, I'm going to walk you through a little more structured process in the brain dump. And for people like me that love structure and loves list, I just want someone to tell me the best way to do it. I just want to do it that way. You're going to love part 2. But I promise, whatever way you decide to do this step is the best way for you, as long as you do it. So we breathe, we brain dump. The last step, step 3 in our 3-step process, is break. That's right. I said it. Take a break. I'm telling you, not that you need it, but I am giving you permission to take a break. Getting your brain on paper takes some deep focused thinking sometimes. So anytime I finish my brain dump, I just step away and I take a break. One practice that I actually use in my business, I use it in my business on the operations side, is 2 weeks before any event, I ask the team, I do it myself or I tell my team to, we have to start our operations timeline. Now, this is sort of the same thing as a brain dump, but specifically for an event. So we start building the final prepping and packing list, laying out the timelines with the contact information, and we ultimately stop the spiral of all those last minute to-dos before it even starts. But why is it important to me that we start it 2 weeks before the event? We certainly have time before the event, but it's the importance of the break that comes afterwards. Once our brain is clear and able to breathe and rest, it's kind of like this calm before the storm. So there's clarity, confidence, and creativity that kind of comes in this break period. And it's the secret to stepping on site and knowing that we've thought about everything except for the surprises, and even some of that we've already thought about as well. But taking a break is not only important after the brain dump, it's important to incorporate every day and night. Teaching yourself, or more so allowing yourself, to get in the habit of incorporating breaks throughout your day, in between any deep focus blocks of time, it can really be a game changer in your productivity levels. Now, when I was younger, I thought I didn't need breaks. You're right. I thought I could go nonstop. But as I've gotten older, I've come to realize and accept that God did not create me, nor did he create you to be machines, and I have only got a certain number of that deep focus work hours in me a day. In reality, I think studies show that it's 4 hours a day. And I think it's you get more done in 4 hours than you do in it's a 7-hour day. It's at some point, your productivity level at that point just dwindles. So you really have to capitalize on those deep focus times and just, stay in them. But then when they're done, take that break. One of the best pieces of advice that I've heard on taking a break was actually in Jordan Rader's Redeeming Your Time, where he quoted an old saying that said, if you work with your mind, break with your hands. And if you work with your hands, break with your mind. So basically, if you're a computer processor, well, you're not a computer processor, you're a person. If you're doing something on a computer, processing numbers, whatever, graphic design, if you're working on a computer all day, scrolling through social media isn't probably much of a break. Same thing if you're a landscaper and now you have to go home to finish that honey-do list of those home upgrades. That's not really much of a break. So find ways to work out other parts of your brain so you don't wear out the ones that you use the most. You think about it when you work out. In between each set or even certain days of your training program, you're supposed to rest. That rest is key to building strength and helping you achieve your goals. I mean, it's the same in anything else. Think about it. After 6 days of creating the earth, God rested. So rest isn't just a good thing, it's a God thing. That's all I'm saying. And there's many ways to break. So you'll have to think about what's best for you. But, I'll say for me, here's a few ways. These are the ones that work for me, that I incorporate breaks in my day, my week, and of course, my nights. So my favorite way to take a break during the day is to walk my dogs. I'm sure my neighbors think I'm crazy. I mean, especially whenever my office was like out of the house, because I was really walking them like 4 or 5 times a day. But I like to walk because it kind of feeds my need to be productive while I break. But it also makes my dogs very happy. And I'm usually pretty deep in creative work or numbers and lists in the event industry. So stepping away and stepping outside, it really takes the break from my brain to my body, and it always feels good. I call them brain breaks. And so if we're in the office, I'll actually like yell it to the office and I'm like, does anybody need a brain break? We all just go walk the dog. The dogs love it. I love to take baths. Sometimes I'll take them in the middle of a Saturday because, I feel like Saturday mornings I'm cleaning and it's busy, and Saturday evenings it's like dinner or football games or whatever. So sometimes I'll take a bath in the middle of the day. Obviously, at the end of the day, that kind of helps me to wind down. I will sit down, especially, like I said, I did this more whenever I worked out of the house, but where I would just sit down and play piano. I'm a classically trained pianist, and for me, that's very cathartic. I can just kind of step away and just kind of take my brain and put it on something else. Or I love to put karaoke on my phone. I will sing karaoke and I will dance around my house, especially if I'm driving to work. That's like what driving to work is for, is karaoke time in my car. In the band, people ask when I practice, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I practice every day. Like when I'm in my car, that is my practice zone. So I love karaoke. I love YouTube having karaoke tracks. It's like my jam. And then I will say, like during the week, I do try to take one full day to be off. No emails, no calendars, no computer, no work. Usually just TV, books, bath, rest, spend some time with Will. I mean, for me, this day tends to be Sunday, but sometimes we have events on Sunday, so it has to be a Tuesday. Whatever day it is, I just try to incorporate at least one day a week to truly disconnect. I love how Jordan actually calls this day an island of get to and a sea of have to. So of all things that I have to do, this one day off, I see it as an opportunity to do something that I get to do, not what I have to do. Okay, so that's my days, my week. And then at night, I set a bedtime alarm on my phone so I don't get notifications an hour before bed. On really long days, like I'll stop working 2 hours before bed so my brain can wind down. I sleep, or I try to. I mean, sleep has been kind of that battle with my hormones, but it's the one thing, just so you know, it is the one thing that is apparently key to helping me heal so many other things in my body. So I prioritize getting to sleep even over the work and the deadlines of the job. And I'll be honest, I do this now. I didn't used to be very good at it. I remember there was one time, and I've talked about it before in one of the really early episodes, that I slept 3 hours in a 72-hour period because I was trying to get events done on site and proposals done at the same time. But I'll tell you, never again will work and an unappreciative stranger get that kind of sacrifice from me. I mean, I'm just going to breeze through these. Like we all know, there's ways to really get the best sleep, keep it cold, keep it dark. Like I even hide all the little lights from our electronics. I haven't been able to take the TV out of the room. I know that's like highly suggested. Although I will say, whenever I was struggling to break my stress addiction during COVID, I moved my phone out of the bedroom. I didn't realize like how addicted I was to being able to roll over and just grab my phone in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep. So I don't know how desperate getting good sleep is to you, but I know that one little thing was key in my recovery. Now it's back in my room now, but pretty much once I put it on, in Redeeming Your Time, he calls it parent your phone, like put it to bed at night. So pretty much once I put my phone to bed at night, I don't touch it again. So I really love that. That's been a good thing. Now, since I've been able to break it, that's been really fun. Really good for me. To take a break. I've said it before, but one of the most life-giving realizations that I've come to is that I have control over the preparation, the process, and the practice, but I have no control over the potential result. In Called to Create, there's this beautiful chapter called Trust, Hustle, Rest. I trust that I'm walking in obedience to my calling and to my Creator. I hustle to do the work that I know that I am called to do, and then I rest, knowing that once I've done my part, the rest is up to God, and it's not worth any more worry or stress. I can write these podcasts. I can rewrite them. I can practice them. I could memorize them. I could hire the best team to produce them, the best equipment to record it, but I cannot force anyone to listen to them. That is beyond my control, and I don't have to stress over that part. I've said it before, but if it's on his to-do list, he will get it to done, so I don't have to worry about it. Look, stopping the spiral, it's not an easy task. I never said it would be easy. Simple. Yeah, I think 3 steps is a pretty simple process, but easy? Nah. So as we're coming up on the holidays and you're starting to spin in a stress spiral of thoughts and to-dos and various tasks, just remember these 3 simple steps. Breathe, brain dump, break. Remember, if you want to deep dive a little bit further into that brain dump process, you're going to have to join me on the next Encourage episode to learn a little bit more about that. I'm really excited. As I kind of was going into all this, I realized that I've got this beautiful way that I do actually kind of do my brain dumps. And that's could be on the list side when I've got a lot of tasks to do, or it could be on the thought side where I've just got a lot of negative thoughts that are kind of eating at me and just stealing my joy and my peace. So I'm excited to share that one with you on the next one. But until then, I hope these words guide you into stopping the spiral, or at least slowing it down so you can step boldly into who God has created you to be. Good luck. I'll see you next time.